Today on the show, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the dirtiest plays in Texas politics. A coordinated hit job against a man who refused to stay silent. Councilman Jeff Peña was slapped with not one, but two trumped up bogus charges. Not because he broke the law, but because he refused to stay silent. He was exposing corruption, and they moved fast to shut him down and force him out. But Jeff didn't back down. In the face of sitting in a Texas state jail for 2 to 10 years, he stood firm and beat those bogus charges in a unanimous 12-0 jury decision. And speaking of political retaliation, we will discuss Freeport Police Chief Jennifer Howell's recent reinstatement after an unjust suspension by a rogue city manager whose abuse of power and lack of integrity has finally caught up to him. The corrupt system is cracking, and the truth has come out. Let's get into it. No one is above the law. The people have had enough. We will root out the criminals and expose them all. We're fighting to expose the criminal element in Texas. Our investigation in the Brazoria County's justice system has just begun.
And now your host, Kevin Henry.
Welcome to the show, Councilman Pena. Thank you for coming on today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
You just faced 2 felony charges at the Brazoria County Courthouse and won 12-0 on the unanimous decision. That's impressive.
Yep, 12-0, found not guilty. Some very politically motivated charges from the get-go, and all of that information is going to be in the public domain soon enough. But yeah, it's been a year-long headache. You can imagine the stress. The charges were very serious. The intention was to silence me and get me removed from the city council and really to destroy my life. I mean, we're talking about 2 to 10 years incarceration for putting up agenda items on the glass case for City Hall with Scotch tape. And it was found that everything that I did was actually legal and nothing was illegal.
So they brought you up on some trumped up charges.
Yeah.
2 felony, 2 to 10 in state jail. And no telling how much that would have cost you, plus your reputation.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, whether you get convicted or not, your reputation still suffers because there's still that public opinion out there.
Oh, sure.
Because of all the smearing that they do. I mean, both of us know what the local news rag does to us whenever we go against the system.
Yeah.
But you beating that is awesome. It gives other people willpower to go out and put their foot down and say no to this stuff and still fight back.
Yeah.
And from what I saw is you went out there and all you were doing was blowing the whistle on what I consider fraud in the city of Freeport.
Yeah, and that's just it. This was just a huge attempt not only to silence me, but also to retaliate against me for exposing all of the corrupt leadership in Freeport, the establishment of Freeport. I mean, we're talking about the former mayor, Brooks Bass, the former mayor, Troy Brimage, the former city manager, Tim Kelty. The list goes on, but I could tell you
that's quite a slew of characters.
And I have the receipts on a lot of that stuff, and I could tell you if you go to my Facebook podcast page over the last 2 years, I've exposed all of their corruption, all of their grifts, all of the real theft, pennies on the dollar of city property, city monies. And when you had Bass as the mayor sweeping that under the rug for his friends, certainly sweeping it under the rug for Troy Brimage, certainly trying to cover up for Tim Kelty, and all of that got exposed. And that's a reason why Brooks Bass didn't run for mayor again, because he was exposed for covering it up then, but also equally was responsible. Like, there was a $345,000 illegal wire, which was brought up during my trial by Tim Kelty, the former city manager. And it was found that Bass, Kelty, David Olson, the city attorney, and Jerry Kane, the current city mayor of Freeport, all had a hand in covering up that illegal wire. So there's been an investigation on that going forward here, and they've been trying to stall it. But these guys, the ones that are no longer there and the ones that are here now, and I'm talking about Olson still here, Lance Petty is the current city manager, and Jerry Kane. All of those guys were hoping that I would get convicted because they had all these other plans to replace me. But, what's been in the headlines here now is that the police chief, the current police chief, Jennifer Howell, who was wrongfully suspended by Petty. Well, Kane and Petty and Olson, all, as I've said on my podcast, and I've held this publicly, schemed that whole deal up. It was a big setup.
Well, let's get into that a little bit later, but right now let's discuss what does it feel like facing 2 to 20 in a state jail?
Well, 2 to 10. I mean,
2 to 10. Sorry.
Yeah. As you can imagine.
How do you lay your head down at night and rest?
Well, people are asking me, "Hey, how are you feeling? You must feel great." Or congratulations. And I always say, I'm not sure congratulations are in order. I mean, I feel like I have some PTSD from the whole situation. And I'm sure they're happy to hear that. And that's unfortunate.
It feels like it aged you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it was very taxing, very stressful. Obviously, there was a lot of expense to it as well financially. So there will be some restitution of damages at some point going forward, but I can't really get into that.
I'd like to dig into that trial a little bit also.
Oh, I'm going to tell you right now, the transcripts has probably 10 smoking guns that the citizens of Brazoria County will want to know.
I wonder how much they're asking for those transcripts, because that's how they typically steer you away from receiving any kind of information, as they put a dumb price tag on it that nobody can afford.
Well, I actually inquired about that transcript, and it's $3,800. And right now, City Council of Freeport's considering ordering it. And I know there's a couple of residents that are talking about maybe putting together a little GoFundMe so that we can.
Shouldn't you guys get that to be full transparent, and that way you can? I mean, you're a city councilman. You were an elected member of city council in the city of Freeport. Mm-hmm. Your constituents deserve to know what these people did to you.
Oh yeah,
and those transcripts are going to prove it.
Well, not only that, it's not only what was done to me, but what rules and laws were broken by the various officials, the city manager, the city attorney, and really a lot of fast tracking of the due process. And that's all in the trial. I really wish that trial was broadcast live.
I wanted to go because I wanted to see firsthand what it's like to be somebody that's fighting the system, and then what they do to conspire against you. What these people do to you, not only financially, how much money it costs you, I'm sure, in attorneys, but your reputation, and also what happens if you do face that 2 to 10.
Your life's done.
Your mental state, you have to be losing sleep over that at night. But what I know, one thing around Brazoria County, it's whenever you're going against the system, the good old boys or whatever you want to call it around here, it's extremely hard to find an attorney that's willing to defend you.
Yeah.
Because I've heard firsthand from several attorneys that they will blackball them and they will ostracize them, and they won't pick up any jobs, or then they'll pretty much run them out of town if they're told to stay away from certain clients.
Yeah.
Did you face any of that?
Yeah, well, let me just say this is that, when you mentioned, hey, losing sleep and whatnot, what I didn't lose sleep about, Kevin, was that I knew I had all the evidence on my side, that I didn't break any laws. I knew that from the get-go because I had constantly been asking for permission. Like, I don't know anything. I'm just a volunteer. I always say I'm just an elected volunteer. So because of that, I was always asking the attorney, Olson and Olson, hey, what do I do? Is this what the procedures were? So in the trial, that was revealed. And so I never really was concerned that the law was on my side or that the truth was on my side. My real concern was, would I get a fair trial? And I'm so grateful and thankful that 12 jurors of our peers, residents of Brazoria County, who have no dog in the hunt, saw the evidence and saw it for what it was. And the only way I could be found innocent was that all 12 of them could agree that I was innocent. And they saw it, and they saw it for what it was, and they did.
So is it anything like when you run for office? I mean, because we both ran for office. Is it anything like when you run for office in Brazoria County that the clowns come out and they come to watch your demise?
Oh, yeah. That's the part that was actually quite sickening, is that there was probably a handful of folks that came out. Not probably, there were a handful of folks that came out. And the folks that came out that were against me, now I had a lot of family and friends and supporters in there. I was really glad, and I felt comforted by my family and friends being there. But what really caught me was not only the folks that were there they were the usual suspects. They were the family and friends of everybody that I've exposed.
Of course.
And they were just hoping that I would get burned. And they were chomping at the bit. And after every witness that the prosecution brought forward got proven, was impeached, found to not be telling the truth or withholding information, you could tell the other side or that group of folks who were part of the establishment that I've been exposing for their corruption, they started leaving the room because they knew, oh no, he's gonna probably be victorious because the truth is on his side.
Right.
But you just never know, right? And I was nervous to the last very second.
So they're literally throwing spaghetti at the wall, aka felony charges, to try to literally get you brought up on a felony charge so they can remove you from office so you can no longer call out their corruption.
Correct.
Trumped up charges.
Yeah. I mean, and the folks that were in the audience, actually, former Mayor Bass showed up. And then, of course, during the trial, they showed a video of him, the prosecution, of him basically, and I think the prosecution was going to try to show me argumentative. And really, all it demonstrated was how petty he was being. And for that matter, how abusive he was and trying to limit what I could say on behalf of the public. And the jury saw that. And so, everybody that was there in the audience, not the jury, but the audience, had later told me, like, that was a terrible thing for the prosecution to present. And when that was presented, Bass walked out. I think he tucked tail. He thought he was going to see, front row seat my demise, but instead he ended up looking poorly. And of course, that was like the second day of the trial. But by the fourth day, when the jurors were deliberating and they finally came out, he was nowhere to be found.
So they didn't they go on recess for a long period of time?
Yeah, there was. I think they deliberated for 4 hours, 2 hours on the first day.
No, I'm saying whenever when you had to wait like 6 days or 5 days.
Oh yeah.
Right?
So
between getting the ruling.
Yeah. So
verdict.
the trial was closing arguments were made Wednesday morning. What is that? May 15th.
Yes.
13th, 14th, or 14th rather. And so that there were some scheduling conflicts, so that the trial had to be suspended Wednesday afternoon. And so instead of coming back Thursday or Friday, they moved it to Monday. So the jury hadn't come to a conclusion. They were in the process of deliberating, and they wanted to look at all the evidence one more time. So we had to wait till Monday. So yeah, I was cooking the whole weekend. And
so roughly five days of
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yeah, and then Monday.
Wondering if you were going to be going to jail.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, it's hand-wringing, and it's a big guessing game. And again, the only thing I could rely on was, hey, I know our side of the story was fully told as best as possible, and I testified myself up there, and so I was glad to hear that. I know that the jury was asking that I would speak on my own behalf.
Yes.
And so I wasn't originally, because most attorneys will tell you don't want to.
But when you're telling
testify.
the truth, I could never find myself in the situation that you're in and not giving my side of the story.
Yeah, that's
when
exactly
you're telling
how I
the
felt.
truth, it comes out naturally.
Yeah.
When you're lying and you're throwing spaghetti at the wall, it all falls apart. It might not happen now, but it will eventually happen. Truth will always come out, and truth will prevail.
That I agree. I always say, give people enough time; they'll show you who they are.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was glad that I was able to speak to the jury, and I think they could see, even through the cross-examination, that the line of questioning and my responses, that I was trying to give more information, but I was disallowed by the legal the proceedings. And I'm not really schooled up in all of that, but I was trying my darndest to make sure that I can get everything out that I could. But they try to frame it in a way so that it's only a yes/no question. And I'm like, how can I answer this question?
That deserves an explanation.
Yeah, that deserves an explanation. I was trying to give context, and I said that. Anyway, it's there's a lot more to this that I really can't get into. We kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
There's some other legal matters that are still in the process. But the transcript from this trial, you have so many smoking guns that will be used to hold the individuals that brought forward these charges, the individuals who testified falsely, and there's going to be some accountability on this.
Awesome. Congratulations and kudos on beating the system.
Thank you.
And our team at the Kevin Henry Podcast, we're going to get our hands on that transcript too.
Oh, great.
And we're excited to dig into it.
Well, When that comes out, hopefully you and I can meet up again. I'm glad to walk you through it or answer any questions you might have on it.
Absolutely.
I was going to say is that a couple of folks that were in the audience on the opposite side just literally praying during the time that the prosecution was given their closing arguments against me. They were over there literally praying as if though I had, I don't know, like murdered one of their family members or something. And all you did was put up some agenda with some scotch tape that was completely found to be legal.
That reminds me of the time that I went and debated against my opponent in this 2024 election, this last year's election. And it was in a total foreign area for me. It was in a church, in a huge auditorium setting. I'd never debated before in my life. Mm-hmm. Just went on stage and tried to be myself. And they literally, my opponent's team, all the clowns sat in the front row, every one of them, and they all sat there and were staring me down and basically trying to get me to mess up. And they were heckling me in the crowd.
Yeah.
And I felt like I delivered an awesome debate.
Sure.
And I don't feel like my opponent did that great, but they heckled me the entire time. And it's like watching these hyenas come after you, and all you're doing is trying to stand up for the people of the community.
Yeah.
You're not making money, out there you weren't, specifically, but you're not out there doing this for the money. I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it because I want a better community for our kids and our grandkids.
Right.
And to watch these quote unquote prominent people in our community go against that and going against everything that you're saying that the community deserves, what you've been pointing out in the city of Freeport since as long as I've been watching you, you've been very adamant on your podcast. Mm-hmm. You've been very adamant about truth and transparency and making the best Freeport ever. I think that's your tagline, right?
That's my tag. Yeah.
How can you go against somebody like that? But here's the thing, corruption does not like the truth and the light. So they're going to go against you.
There's your answer.
1,000 times.
Yeah.
They're going to go, they'll do it all over again.
And they hold grudges. They're
you were not supposed to walk out of there a free man.
No, I wasn't. And I wasn't supposed to be reelected. There was gnashing of teeth when I got reelected too. But this is what I've always said. All of my critics are the people that I've exposed that have gotten the cheap on some grift, city property, city money, and city contracts. And if it's not them themselves, it's their relatives and their friends that are part of that grift. And so when I looked at this particular person this last weekend,
why else would they be so involved?
Yeah, why do you care? Why? What for somebody? I've never understood the concept. Like, how can you hate somebody you don't know?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you must be just bored out of your wits on Facebook or social media and just trolling because
there's a lot of people that's you're exactly right. They have literally nothing better to do in their whole entire life. They have nothing better to do.
Yeah.
But sit there and try to rip somebody apart on Facebook.
Yeah.
And we're out there trying to make a difference in this community. We're pointing out fraud, waste, and corruption.
Yeah.
We're putting ourselves on the line. We're jeopardizing our relationships with community members because you never know who's tied to who. Right. All you're doing is pointing out corruption.
Yep.
That's where we're at in this, is that you don't know who you're going to upset. You don't know who's going to, if it's your family member, if it's somebody, a coworker that you work with, you don't know who's tied to who. So it takes a lot of courage to go out and do that. And kudos again.
You have courage, but then you have to fight back. Yeah. I mean, obviously when you're indicted, you have no choice. Mm-hmm. This is your life, not just your livelihood, your life. Your life can be ruined, and you just kind of like pour over that. You're like, man, no good deed goes unpunished. And I just learned the lesson here. It was just like, and the lesson I was thinking about was like, had I been, found guilty, I'd be like, man, nobody likes Boy Scouts. Nobody wants the truth to be out, and that's not true. There's 90% of the public does want the truth to be out, but it's that small percentage that's controlling the narratives, controlling the governments, and of course the narrative. We talk about the fake facts newspaper here, and. I can't say enough on how much they.
I'm right there
do
with
such
you,
a great
buddy.
job.
So I felt like that story deserved a victory lap.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I don't really. Again, I don't feel like I was victorious. I just feel relieved that I was able to defend myself and be found to be on the side of truth.
No, absolutely, for sure. I mean, everybody knows now. The people surely know. I mean, there was a lot of people paying attention to that trial, and I feel like we need to discuss what we can do to prevent something like that in the city of Freeport and other cities. Mm-hmm. But what can we do now to prevent something like that from ever happening again? Like in your situation, what do you do in Freeport now?
Well, I think social media is the ultimate equalizer. Mm-hmm. And I've said this before. It really helps to provide the common sense, truth, the receipts. And so, what do you do now? You keep doing it. That's what you do. Like they think, I mean, in some, like I may have mentioned this before, I have family and friends telling me, hey, you just, now that you got free or that you found innocent, you need to resign. And I'm like, well, that's what they wanted in the first place.
Right.
I'm going to see my term through, but I'm not going away. And the thing about it is that they were trying so hard to have me resign as a plea deal. And I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. So I'm just going to keep speaking up, and I have. And and it's not over. What was going on right before the trial was the dismissal of the suspension of the police chief, Jennifer Howell. And so there was a lot of folks already, the mayor, the city manager, the current city attorney, Olson and Olson. And I have this on my podcast. There's the paper trail is all there, the emails, and that's going to all come out. A lot of these guys had pinned their hopes on me being found guilty, so that then they already had my replacement teed up, and they were going to vote the chief out. So I helped to thwart that, and I can tell you the chief is a very high integrity individual. And so I'm glad this last council meeting just 2 days ago, she got reinstated, rightfully so, because that investigation, which was a bogus investigation, ended up just completely exonerating her.
Yes. So let's talk about that when we come back. Right now, we're going to get a word from our sponsors.
All right.
And thank you for coming on the show, Jeff.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Need a barn built to last? At Stuckey Barns in Brazoria County, Texas, we blend quality craftsmanship with rugged durability and Texas pride to make your dream barn real. From custom barns to metal buildings, we build strong, local, and backed by a hometown service. Need bold, high-quality ink? Seven Souls Tattoo Studio has you covered. We're obsessively clean and professional, guiding you from idea to unforgettable art. Got old ink? We'll transform it into stunning new work with precision and creativity. Drop by Seven Souls at 20 Circle Way in Lake Jackson, Texas. Boat season's here. Is your ride ready? At Liquid Rides in Brazoria, we handle certified marine repairs and full engine builds. We're your Mercury Marine and PCM dealer, keeping you smooth all year. Plus, custom stereo installs for boats, vehicles, side-by-sides, and Jeeps. Liquid Rides, custom audio, certified performance, built in Texas. Looking for real coverage from real people? Whether it's your home, car, or business, go see Landra Olson's team at Farmers Insurance in West Columbia, Texas, where hometown service means top-rated protection. Spring's here, and it's time to get those flower beds and gardens in shape. Rifles Feed and Supply in Brazoria has soil, mulch, and everything you need to make your yard pop, plus the best feed and supplies for your animals. Fentanyl is taking our loved ones' lives every day, but knowledge can save them. Travis's Voice is dedicated to raising awareness, educating communities, and preventing future tragedies. To learn more, go to travis'svoice.org. Welcome back. I'd like to thank the sponsors for supporting the show and Councilmember Jeff Peña with the City of Freeport.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We were just discussing Chief Jennifer Howell and her, suspension, right?
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Well, she just got reinstated. We had a council meeting on Monday, 2 days ago, and the investigation, which was 2 months too long and should have never occurred, as I've maintained, was found that the investigator said that there was no factual basis of any violations by Chief Howell. And, we had a chance to get a preview of the report, and the report is actually public. So I'll be posting that here next, and I'm happy to share that with you, to share on your podcast for your followers. but essentially what was a witch hunt and a just looking for a problem to be exploited to try to get her fired was found to be completely false.
I read something about maybe a possible unionization of the Freeport Police Department. Do you think that had anything to do with it?
That's in the report as well. The issue of the union, actually, the background on that was, and I know there's been this sidebar conversation about the morale of the police department. Well, there is some truth to that morale problem, but that the truth of that morale problem actually originated with Petty. And so, unfortunately, and Lance Petty, the city manager,
okay.
Sorry, I will tell you this. The good thing about this investigation report is that it completely eliminated all 7 of the accusations by Lance Petty against Jennifer Howell, number 1. But what it didn't include was any of the testimony and evidence that every city council person has that wasn't interviewed at all. I wasn't interviewed. No other city councilman was interviewed. And for that matter, there's a whole bunch of other evidence and emails that weren't included. And that's fine. If the investigator wanted to say, you know what, let me just keep it to these 7 accusations, that's great. It turned out that it was there was nothing ever on the bone. No meat was ever found on the bone. So that's where we're like, what are we doing here? Let's get her reinstated right away. So as of today, as of Monday evening, we said effective immediately. And, in terms of going forward, what are the next steps here? There's going to be a lot of accountability. The whole fact that it's been exposed that this investigation was rooted in political retaliation between Petty and the chief, that he weaponized his position, abused his authority, and really ended up just smearing the city's name, obviously the chief's name, and costing the city money. We paid the chief during those 2 months, and she was basically on administrative leave. So,
and to speak on the Freeport Police Department from a personal level,
mm-hmm.
I've been over there many times. I spent a lot of time in Freeport campaigning during my campaign in 2024. And there's some awesome police officers over there. I mean, very friendly, very welcoming.
My God, yeah.
I spent a lot of time chatting with them. I've talked to the community. They engage with the community very well. They're always at the events. The police officers are always at the events.
Yep.
The community seems to really like the Freeport Police Department. And I don't see how she would have gotten removed from office. I don't understand that at all.
Where did this all begin? And again, it's political retaliation. The police department had unionized because they were feeling threatened by the city manager, and there's a whole bunch of information on that's going to come out.
Where is this guy from, City Manager Petty?
I think it's, I'll say this, is like, he's not from Freeport, but I'm not either, so I'm not going to vilify him for not being from Freeport. Right. He's from the Dallas area, is what I understand. Just
recent transplant?
I think he was, when he got to Freeport a couple of years ago, he was recent transplant, because I think he's may have been here 3 or 4 years now.
Is this guy friends with some of the old bad actors in Freeport from the 5-6 years ago days, that all that stuff we read in the paper back then?
Well, I will tell you this, and I've said this publicly, and I'm happy to repeat it here. Lance Petty was unqualified in the first place. He was the assistant city manager when Tim Kelty was the city manager. And of course, Tim Kelty was the former city manager that got fired for the illegal wire of $345,000 to that construction company, Covarrubias.
Covarrubias, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's not no chump change.
No, and that's still ongoing. In fact, there's an active lawsuit and demand letters between the city and Covarrubias. So those details will also be coming out. But I would tell you that Lance Petty was, obviously the assistant city manager, and quote unquote, you might suspect, well, he's the heir apparent. Well, the council at the time actually said, no, we're going to do a professional search. But as I've also stated back then, is that he got promoted to being the city manager, but that was only after Brooks Bass had circumvented the whole process of looking for a professional city manager, having a professional search. I've said here in the last 6 months that the Lance Petty experiment has failed, has proven to be disastrous for the city. And so much so that earlier this year, when when the police department decided to unionize, and I knew the reason why was because of him, I was asking for a meeting. All right, let's put all our cards on the table and everybody speak. He ran for the hills, lawyered up, a lawsuit, pending litigation against the city, quote unquote, per his his representation letter from his attorney. And I said then, and I maintain now, and it's proven to be true. He was very dangerous. You can't leave him or anybody in that kind of position that is threatening litigation, because then they're running roughshod on, the rules. They're abusing their power. They're threatening individuals, and obviously the chief got the brunt of it. Yeah. And so here we are now. It's the investigation report, and it's going to come out. It's out already, and it'll be made public here probably in the next 24 hours, and I'll make sure that it is. It's abundantly clear how just petulant, childish, immature that the charges were. I mean, they were just really trying to throw you-know-what on the wall to hope that something would stick to get rid of her.
So it sounds like the same thing they did to you, except they were throwing felonies at you.
Yeah.
So you're getting thrown felonies, and then
Yeah.
I heard there was 7 accusations against her, and they shot blanks on every single one of them.
Yeah, he had seven allegations against the chief in the report, and the investigator found them all to just be, not well grounded. There were no violations of any procedure. There was no violations of any city ordinances of any sort. So she conducted herself professionally and by the rule book. And there's going to be some more information coming out about him asking her to basically do some illegal activities.
So let's switch gears.
They put the public at risk, by the way.
I remember reading something or seeing a video or something of a physical altercation at the city hall. Can you tell us about that?
I mean, the only altercations I know included me, that basically I got assaulted by Brooks Bass, the former mayor, and those charges got dropped or withdrawn, and you can figure out how that happened. And then, of course, here recently, when I brought forward the cover-up, yet another cover-up by the water billing for Surfside, the city of Surfside, and this was like late October, early November of 2024, I basically said, hey, this has been a cover-up. I have the paper trail of the lies of Lance Petty, David Olson, and Jerry Kane. And, I confronted all 3 of them in the executive session meeting, and they had nothing to say.
Tell me, what's the water bill issue? I don't understand that.
Oh, there was basically some unpaid water bills that were to the order of $400,000, and then with all the
with the city of Surfside, right?
Yeah, they owed the city. The city of Surfside had not been paying their water bills, and so the receipts were clear on who was to blame and who was covering it up. And I've always there's been a lot of residents that have pointed to the instability just of George Matamoros, and how he just has a short temper and is just kind of has no self-control. And so in that meeting,
council member, right?
That's one of the current council member from Ward C, and that guy assaulted me. And so I filed those charges on that. So, we talk about these 2 felonies. I mean, this is not just a paper chase. They've been trying to physically assault me. And it's like, hey man, I'm sorry that it's hurting your feelings that I'm telling you the truth. And if you're offended for yourself or for your friends that are also as guilty, maybe you should reconsider being in public service.
Right.
If you can't hold your friends, your neighbors, your relatives accountable, you do not belong in public office,
right.
Period.
I ran on integrity also. I went for truth and transparency and bringing good, meaningful change to Prince William County. And watching all these people turn their backs on you, I've had friends, family, some, previous coworkers that I worked with at the plant.
Yeah.
People turn their back because you're simply trying to make a change. And
Yeah.
here you are getting physically assaulted, and then you're getting felonies thrown at you like they're willy-nilly, like there's just no big deal. We're just trying to get him out of there, not worried about what it's going to do to your livelihood.
Right.
And then I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it where people like me and you are few and far between. They make an example out of somebody like yourself or somebody like myself, and it'll keep people that are doing it for the good, right? The intentions, the right intentions. It'll keep them from running for office. And it's not what they can do to you. It's what they will do to you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's not if.
They can make anything happen. They can trump up charges. I mean, obviously you just went through that. They can.
You really got to look at that transcript.
they can tarnish your name. They can make it where you're not hireable in another profession.
Yeah.
You know, they make it where you're a hot potato. You're a political hot potato.
Oh yeah, no, I'm radioactive. Yeah, absolutely.
And another thing they do, and this is a new one on me, I've noticed, is they will literally go after your job. If you have a job at, say, XYZ plumbing company or ABC chemical company,
right?
They will literally pull strings in the higher ups of those those plants or those companies, and they will have you fired simply running for office or for speaking your mind online and standing up for the good, right people. You know, the people that are mean, like the people that are wanting to do right in the community. They're literally bashing them and trying to take their money away from them.
Yeah,
it's not fair what they're doing.
No,
and it's harder to find good people that want to do this and put themselves in this hot seat that me and you have found ourselves in.
Yeah,
it's making it where you would think less people would do it, but it seems like more people with the podcasts that are coming out and the truth that's coming out, and we're subverting the fake news rag that we have here. I mean, it's garbage.
Yeah,
we're subverting that, and we're getting truth to the people, and they're starting to get behind us and get more supportive of us. And hopefully that's making the younger generation want to step up and be more involved in politics. Because if nobody stands in their way, they're going to run right over you.
After the trial, there were so many folks that reached out to me. Actually, even right before the verdict was read during that long weekend, I had so many residents of Freeport and people I didn't even know just reaching out to me randomly saying, "Hey, I'm praying for you." And their prayers were, I think they helped. I certainly, it put me at ease.
Yes.
I mean, I'm, certainly anxious for all the right reasons, but also seeing the support there, that was really helpful. And then, of course, after the jury came back with their innocent verdict of 12-0 unanimous, I'm about to get a T-shirt that says 12-0. Anyway, and here just last week or this week here, we're trying to fill in all these new board positions for all the various boards of the city. Mm-hmm. And I have folks reaching out to me saying, "Hey, love what you're doing. I want to be a part of that."
Yes.
But there's also still those that said, "Hey, man, I saw what happened to you. I'm scared. I don't want to get on that." So you win some and you lose some, but I could tell you probably a month ago, the people that are stepping up to do something now, they would have never ever done it. Because they say, okay, maybe there is a chance for fairness and justice if you're trying to do the right things. Yes. I'm not interested in just pointing fingers at what's wrong. I mean, when it's blatantly illegal, I'm going to say something, number one. But I have a chock full of ideas. Right. I have a beach plan for Freeport, changing the economy for Freeport to be leaning into their whole coastal economy and really making it a touristy destination. Right. The city of Surfside does a great job of that. Yes. Heck, Clute does a great job of business development, economic development. Everybody's leaping past Freeport, and yet Freeport has the same and more resources of natural, water recreation, coastal community.
It's almost like these people that are fighting against you are fighting to keep that from happening in Freeport.
Yeah, that's one theory. Yeah.
So if you have nothing but industry in that area, do you think they're protecting the industry? Could it possibly be that it's industry protection and keeping the growth from happening in Freeport?
I remember there was an old man that came to me asking me to speak with him when I had first put my name in the hat for running for council. And he didn't know me from Adam. And he was just trying to really get a gauge of what my thoughts were on the port and the industry. And I didn't really have any kind of canned answer for him other than to say, you know what, it's obvious to me that this is an industrial community. But it's also obvious to me that there's been a lost opportunity here for all of the natural waterways that can really change the brand of Freeport. I said, what needs to happen is really we have to strike a balance between the industry and the community so that the residents of Freeport can feel like they live in a safe, thriving, proud to live here coastal community. That's the way how you get Freeport back to prominence.
Yeah, I agree. So what's next for you?
Right now, there's
Jeff Peña for mayor?
No. I'll tell you who's a good mayor is the Councilman Davis, Jarvis Davis from Ward B. That is a man of high integrity.
He's been an ally of yours?
He has been a reluctant ally. He's told me flat out when he got on council, he was told all the bad stuff about me. And they told him flat out, everybody was telling him, watch out for Pena. He's going to get in trouble. You know, he's got those 2 indictment charges on him. Watch out for Pena. He's just a loose cannon and just causing trouble. And so he's like, well, you know what? To his credit, he was like, let me make my own decision.
Right.
So for the last, 10, 11 months, or actually 12 months now, because he's been a councilman for a year, he's been double checking everything I tell him. I said, please do. Triple check it. I want you to know that everything I tell you is that I have the receipts and that you can verify it so you can stand on it. You don't have to be my friend to agree with me.
When enough people start standing up and fighting back, it really starts to open up the eyes of the community. Mm-hmm. The people that may not have been paying attention to before because they thought this place is so far gone, I can't do anything to change it. Yeah. And they start seeing people stand up that are actually in the fight changing it. Mm-hmm. Courage is contagious.
Yeah.
They'll get behind them.
Well, courage is contagious. Even Councilman Rosso was courageous this last meeting. In the last couple of meetings even, I think he was standing on the right side with the residents of Freeport and basically helping to reinstate the chief. He was the one that seconded the motion for Councilman Jarvis Davis. Very nice. And so to see Councilman Winston Rosso do that tells me he's paying attention. So again, I know that, like I said before, when you bear out the facts and the truth and all the paperwork, 90% of the folks that don't have a dog in the hunt are going to say, of course, this is the right answer, or of course, this is the right path. Right. But it's those that are in on the stink, in on the grift. They're the ones that are going to be fighting you. And unfortunately, people say, oh, Pena, you're so combative, or you're so, what's the word, disruptive or something. Yeah. And I'm always like, you know what? I'm over here exposing the truth here. I'm exposing the crimes and the corruption.
But they've been doing it for decades, Jeff. Why are you exposing it?
Well, no, the other side is like, did you really think they were just going to fold? Yeah. No, they were going to fight me tooth and nail because those stolen goods, they're not going to give them away. If they were corrupt enough to steal them, do you think they wouldn't be corrupt enough to fight to keep them?
Isn't there somebody that still owes the city a couple $100,000?
Well, that's a fun podcast that we could talk about. But yeah, there's we had one of the investigations that I put forward was the investigation of brass tacks, and that was the former mayor Troy Brimage, and he was found by 3 separate law firms that he owed that money. But at the 11th hour, at the end of Brooks Bass's term, he helped to get that swept under the rug. And I'm going to have a podcast about that. The withdrawal letter between the attorneys is just dripping with corruption. This investigation was bogus from the get-go. They never gave us any evidence.
Really? Jerry
Kane, Lance Petty, and Olson all conspired to just backroom deal this whole situation, put the chief under suspension, illegally violating the charter. And even when residents would come up to all the other councilmen, we had nothing. I was like, that made no sense. And I mean, I'm surprised that more folks weren't just violently angry, but I'm glad that the right thing got done here.
Well, I hope to have you back on soon. How can the people find you if they want to follow your podcast?
You can find me on the Facts newspaper. They're always putting my mugshot up there all the time. I got the Trump mugshot now, and I'm going to get a Trump T-shirt. Like,
you got to love that paper.
Oh my God! I mean, even after the trial, I think I have the record for the covers of the Facts newspaper, but they're like Pena found innocent, but then they put my mugshot.
Yeah. Well, let's talk one day about the time I ran the mariachi band right up their parade.
That sounds funny.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks
Jeff.
for having me.
Good luck and everything in the future. And
Thank you.
Please come back on the show sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, sir.